Dear Latinos, being racist to other Latinos, indigenous, and black folks will not bring you any closer to the whiteness that you crave so much. And if this message bothers you, then it was probably meant for you. A lot of Hispanic and Latino parents will literally try to teach you at a young age to not be friends with black people, and it's fucking disgusting. They show you racism, anti-blackness, like colorism at a fucking young age. You could be a dark-skinned Latino and yet you will get a lot of fucking hate. Not only that, media will even fucking show that shit too. Where literally they show that white Latinos are literally rich, smart, educated, and they're always holy. But when it comes to black people or Afro Latinos, they're ghetto, they're poor, uneducated, and they're criminals.
Latino man here admits that they were told to stay away from black people. Okay. There's been racial or segregation or colorism between Latinos family because the white Latinos, they don't show the good love or they don't show love towards the black Latinos. That's not the case of Latinos only. It's the case too of some of black people because there is colorism everywhere. We cannot deny that. But here we are talking about Latinos. In this video, there is these Latinos who are accepting that there is racism in Latino community and they were told to stay away from black Americans neighborhoods or from black people neighborhoods because of one or two reasons. Let's see these videos and then we'll come back again and talk about it.
Because let's talk about this shit because this shit is so true. A lot of Hispanic and Latino parents will literally try to teach you at a young age to not be friends with black people, and it's disgusting. They show you racism, anti-blackness, like colorism at a young age. You could be a dark-skinned Latino, and yet you will get a lot of hate. Not only that, media will even show that shit too, where literally they show that white Latinos are literally rich, smart, educated, and they're always holy. But when it comes to black people or Afro Latinos, they're ghetto, they're poor, uneducated, and they're criminals. And not only that, a lot of these celebrities believe this shit too. And also, they do blackface. And that's why a lot of people don't want to unionize when it comes to the Hispanic and Latino community because of the amount of fucking anti-blackness, the racism towards black people. And not only that, y'all forget that literally black people have influenced our fucking community so much, from technology, from food, to even music. And some of y'all bitches be dancing to those music that literally were influenced by black people. And it's even worse in this section. People are showing the true colors. And that's why people hate us, because the amount of anti-blackness.
Within my mother's side of the family, there's a lot of light-skinned Dominicans and dark-skinned Dominicans. My twin sister's darker than me. My older sister's what you call Haba, which is light-skinned, kinky hair. But there's the mentality, even within my family, that we ain't black. You know, we're Dominican. I was always trying to school my parents. And when my father would always say something derogatory, like if I tell my dad some story about something that happened in the subway, he would say, oh, he was a black guy, right? It was like, what, because you're white? So I'd have to challenge him. I needed him to understand that he was black too, you know, and that he was the man and he was black.
Why are so many Latinos racist against Black people? Good question. So first of all, let me start by acknowledging that's the truth. And anyone that says otherwise is not helpful in this whole conversation. Like white people saying, I don't see color. Secondly, race is just a construct that was invented by European people intended to divide us, which they successfully managed to do. And unfortunately, just like many other purposefully marginalized communities, we play along exactly into the narrative of letting them divide us. We all have that tío or abuelito or papa in our family that is racist, that is, has issues with Black people or Asian people, or is homophobic or transphobic. And most likely it's more family members than not. The issue is that it's really difficult to have these conversations. But we need to have these conversations with our own community. We need to call out, call in, and educate our own family members, our own friends. And too often I see Latinos stay silent. And they say, oh, that's just how he is. And yes, I use he a lot because it's a lot of times the man, at least in my experience. And if you live in LA, you probably know the scandal we recently had with the leaked audio. For me, the only scandal really was that so many Latinos that I know pretended that that's a surprise. Really? That's exactly like white people pretending that they're surprised that racism exists. There are so many issues in our Latino community, from being anti-Black to brown people calling themselves white. I mean, please identify as whatever you want, but it's weird. To light-skinned Latinos like myself pretending that they have the same racism to deal with as a Black person. And then there is the whole other layer of not being Latino enough, not being Black enough, not being brown enough. It's like our community is so busy tearing each other down that we lost sight of who is actually doing the oppression here. I had a US-born friend here in LA whose both parents were Mexican, but she has never been to Mexico and she doesn't speak Spanish. And she told me that in her opinion, I wasn't really Mexican, which I thought was funny. And I immigrated as an adult. I'm not even first generation. I'm a Mexican immigrant in the United States. But to her, just because my mom was European, that was enough to tell me I wasn't actually Latina. And those are the same kind of people that pretend that all Latinos are brown and act like Afro-Latinos don't exist. It's time for all of us to unite, because together we're not the minority. We are the majority if we just have each other's back.
The best example of how anti-Black the Latinx community can be and is that the Dominican Republic and Haiti is on the same island, but only the Dominican Republic is considered Latin America, to most people at least. Like, it's only been the past few years that I realized that since I'm Haitian American, I am also Afro-Latinx. And the way it doesn't even sit right with me, because I've never been considered that by the Latinx community, is wild. Like, even on our island of Hispaniola, the anti-Blackness, the racism, the colorism is wild. And I don't know, like, it literally blows my mind.
I lived in Miami for almost a year, and while I was there, in the apartment building that I was living in Pembroke Pines, there were some Mexican guys doing some repairs on the roof. They saw me pass by walking my dog, and they say, "Beautiful, morena," and I was like, "Oh, thank you." And they say, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Cuba." They say, "Cuba? We didn't know people in Cuba look like you." And I said, "Like me, like what? Black?" And he just stopped on his tracks and changed the subject. The majority of Latino people are very racist. I didn't know that I was living in a very racist country until I met my Jamaican husband, and he made me realize how racist people in Cuba were. And once your eyes are open to this, you cannot unsee it. There was a time in Jamaica when you could watch Spanish television. We had two TV stations, Univision and Telemundo. These TV stations, each of them had one Black anchor. One had one female for the news, and the other one had a male, two Black people. Both TV stations show a wide array of telenovelas, which is basically Spanish soap operas. And these telenovelas were made and produced in Latin America. Brazil, Colombia, Mexico are one of the biggest places where soap operas are made. Now you tell me now how a Colombian telenovela of 350 episodes don't have one Black person in it. If you see a Black actor on a telenovela, is actually playing a slave or a character that they are trying to bring back to life, like Celia Cruz. So these have just added to that white supremacy and had made people from other places believe that Black people doesn't exist in Latin America any at all. So if as a Jamaican you travel to Miami and you suffer what he did, don't be surprised. I'm sorry this happenings to you, but it's a sad truth. Hopefully this change soon. This will change soon in the future. Thanks for watching. Mucha love.
Not every Latina identifies as Black.
Racist Latinos do not identify with being black because they was told by their parents that they are better than you. They look down on you. They think you're not going to be anything in life. This is what they think when they see you outside. They think, hey, they're not going to be nothing. Don't hang out with them. They think if they discriminate and be racist towards you, that white people are going to accept them. And that's where it's coming from. It has been taught by their parents. They don't want to be black. This is why it's mind-boggling. I keep hearing black people say black and brown. Even black celebrities and rappers. Black and brown? Are you kidding me? What have brown people done for black people?
Here lies the problem. There are Latin women and Hispanic women who talk about, oh, I'm Latin this, I'm Hispanic that, I stand for my people, la raza, blah, 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 blah. And then they are against black people. They're against things black people do. They show their racism, but then they want to be black when they want to be black when it benefits them. Okay? So not everybody that's a Latin person or Hispanic person identifies as black. A lot of them fake the funk just to fit in where they can get in. However, my original post referred to the Latin women holding off on doing their follow train and let the black women do what they need to do. And for very obvious reasons. Now, people are going to do what they want to do. And if somebody feels some type of way about it, hey, that's on them. That's not on me. But here lies what doesn't make sense. If you identify as a Latina and you want to start a Latina follow train, when do you become a black person too? Because if a black person, if black women are having the black girls follow train, then, and you identify as black, then you should be doing the train, following that train, right? But Latin women want to start their own. So are these just straight Latin women that don't identify as black or have no kind of black ancestry? You get what I'm saying?
Black people stay hating on Latinos. Is it jealousy? No. Jealousy? What? Jealous of what? There are black Latinos, so what is your point?
I feel like something people don't talk about is like the prejudice that we have within Latino communities. So I grew up in Miami, like most of us are Latino in Miami, but I did like experience like racism and things like that because of my skin color, because of my features. So that's something that like I struggled with. But at the end of the day, like my mom, I remember something she would do is like when Miss Universe would come on, she'd be like, look at all like the brown ladies. Like sometimes it would be like Miss Venezuela was like una morena. And she'd be like, look at her. Because my mom is a white Latina. So we look different in some ways. So that was kind of like a shock because where I was from in Nicaragua, I didn't experience that. We were all brown, you know, right. We all look similar to me. But in Miami, you have so many different cultures. And unfortunately, there is that prejudice within our community.
I was asked if there is racism in the Dominican Republic. This is a difficult subject because racial discrimination in my country is normalized. And most of the people don't think we have a racism issue, which makes the dialogue difficult. But yes, there is racism in the Dominican Republic and there is colorism too. I realized that for people outside our cultural context, to hear that on a country where the majority of people is black or mulatto, there is racism sounds absurd. But hear me out. This is a consequence of colonialism. During colonial dominion, there is an imposition of language, religion, and culture of the colonizers. So we were taught to believe that everything that was black or African was bad or ugly. Follow me for more.
I faced discrimination for speaking my native tongue. Time and time again, white sailors would butt into my private conversations to confront my friends and I for speaking Spanish. They would say things like, "It's rude to speak Spanish. Stop speaking that language. This is America." And to be clear, this would happen when I was chilling with my friends, not during work hours. There were times I felt helpless, like the system was against us, even though we had every right to speak our language. But I wasn't one to just sit there and take it. I would argue back, and that would often get me into trouble. But I didn't care because I was putting my life on the line for this country. And I'll be damned if someone's gonna restrict my freedom of speech. So to all the racists and xenophobes who keep telling us to speak English, listen up. It's disrespectful to tell anyone not to speak their native tongue. Because this is America, a land of immigrants, a melting pot of cultures where we could go to any restaurant and speak any language que nos pega la gana. And if you don't like it, too bad, because we're not going anywhere.
So my parents call me Prieto. Prieto means dark. Or Negro. Negro obviously means black. And that's literally what they call me, right? My cousin will call me Negrito. And I guess in Mexico, it's so desensitized. But again, in Mexico, slavery was abolished way before the US. So maybe that's why it's not a thing. I don't know. Now, with that being said, I'm the dark kind of Mexican, obviously, right? So I'm actual brown, not peachy brown. I'm brown. It's now becoming a thing. More recently, I started hearing about colorism. Like colorism, this is the first year that I hear about it. I've never heard about it in my life. Racism, obviously we grew up with that, right? Like we grew up knowing about it. I've always refused to be a victim or whatever. Nonetheless, I acknowledge that it's a real thing, right? It exists. So in Mexico, the racism and colorism stuff isn't as apparent, but I guess it's a thing. I've never experienced it, but then again, I don't go to Mexico too often. Yeah, here in the US, I don't think people can call or have those nicknames for other people, especially if their actual color is not the same color, right? So I don't think a white person calls things to people, which is kind of weird. That in Mexico it is allowed. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. Are Mexicans racist? I don't think so. It comes from a place of love when they say those things. At least that's what I think. But let me know what you guys think.
Welcome back. Now, historically, various groups has been using racism to create division between people who are already marginalized. And when you talk about Latinos, welcome back. Now, historically, racism has been used to divide people. And this division or this narrative came by the oppressor. Even the white Latinos who were told to stay away from the black people, they were told this by the oppressor and they followed it. Now every day, Latinos try so hard to make the oppressor happy than their own people who are the black people. Even in the Latino communities, there are some black people or the black people are facing, or Latinos black are facing hardship staying there. Just lately, you had these guys from not Cubans, the other one saying that they are not black. They are Dominican because they don't want to associate themselves by black people. But first step of getting rid of this racism and narrative is by accepting it. Latinos have started accepting that black people or black is their nature, and they have started accepting that they were denied rights to mingle and love their people. There were stereotypes said towards this set of group of people. Now, and one way that this narrative was created in Latino community, white Latinos and black Latinos, is to divide. Okay? Racial stereotyping and misinformation. One way that division was created was through negative stereotypes about black people. There was negative stereotypes about black people. These stereotypes pointed to black people as dangerous, immoral, or less cultured. Now, when these ideas were spread to Latinos and other groups, it was often done by powerful elites who sought to maintain control over society by promoting fear and distrust between communities. It's not that they were told this so that they can get something from it, but some elite groups wanted to stay on power, wanted to stay in control. They wanted to instigate fear between the people so that they can get through. For you to control over a set of people, you have to divide them. For you to take people's property or community, you have to divide them. Once you divide them, they become laws. And that's what they did to Latinos. They made Latinos are loose. They made Latinos have cracks. Not Latinos all alone. Black people, Indians. Black people are people who are strong, courageous, and they can do anything. So they knew very well, when we attack, when these people are together, it will be hard for us to take over this. It will be hard for us to sell our narrative. What we need to do is let's divide them. Let's stereotype. Let's send misinformation about black people, because these are the only people who can defeat us, the black people. So we need to send misinformation on this other group about black people that are dangerous, so that these people, they will help us to fight against black people. They will help us to discriminate black people. They will help us to aggregate black people. And once that is done, it will be easy for us to pass. It will be easy for us to conquer. So they did what? They came up with racial stereotyping and misinformation about black people, saying that, oh, these guys are dangerous. Oh, these guys are immoral. Oh, they are less cultures. See their skin, And yeah, people bought this. And it has been affecting them. Even in America right now, some Latinos voted for Trump, not because they wanted to vote for Trump. It's because the other people, which are black people, they are voting for the rival of Donald Trump. So they did not want to side. And that's why they are suffering. We have colonialism and colorism. Now, the history of colonialism, particularly in Latino America, contributed the perpetuating of racial hierarchies. During colonial rule, indigenous people and Africans were often seen as inferior to Europeans. Now, the idea didn't disappear. It didn't. After colonization, after colonialism ended and colorism, the belief of lighter skin are better than darker skin, continued to influence how different racial groups interacted. In some Latino American countries, this meant that Afro-Latinos, those are Latinos of African descendants, that Afro-Latinos were often discriminated against or pushed to the margins of society, while those with lighter skins were seen as higher status. Lighter-skinned Latinos were encouraged to distance themselves from darker-skinned people to align with the European ideas of whiteness. They were valued in those societies. Those are people of lighter skin. And when colonization was on, white people were the one on top. So when it ended, they said this, let's continue this thing through what? Through colorism, because there are some people who have lighter skin and they're just of the same community. All of them are Latino. So they encourage them that they are better off this other gender. And it made sense. It made sense because already they have stereotyped black people. They have sent misinformation about black people. So the lighter skinned people thought they were better. And that's what we call colorism. And it has been affecting community of Latinos so much, leave alone black Africa. Africa, yes, we have colorism, but we have not highly been affected with colorism. But in America, in Latino community, colorism is of high. Just check what is happening on televisions when you open Telemundo, when you want to watch Mexican movies. You'll never find a black Latino casted, an Afro-Latino casted on the screen. And if they're casted, they are being casted with maybe criminals, gang members, something like that. So this stereotype and idea has been there up to now, and the media has been showing this, and the kids are being born knowing that white guys, light skin are the only one on the screens. They're the only one who are doing this advertisement. But black people, they're dangerous. They are criminals. The only role they get is a criminal roles. So It's been affecting Afro-Latinos, the Latino communities. There's a lot of difference between them simply because one think they are better than the others. And this was the decisions of the oppressor. And this has made them to suffer. Now all of Latinos are suffering. In America, those Latinos who are in America without proper documentation, all of them are being sent away. They're not looking at their skin color. They're just being sent away, all of them. So the discrimination, the color discrimination was brought there to make this minority community weak. And yes, we are weak because of that. Because how can someone with lighter skin is an African think is better than me? What does skin matter in the betterness? What does skin matter in the IQ? Because you don't want to tell me that if you are lighter skin, IQ is less. Can you believe even in schools right now in Africa, those kids that are lighter skin, we always think, yo, this guy will be number one. This guy is amazing. This guy is like, yeah, he has brains. Because of what? Because he's lighter skin. We all believe the people of lighter skin have money. If you have lighter skin and you lack money, black people will be like, oh, hey. How can you lack money? You are brown. Brown guys have money. Brown guys are beautiful. Brown people are like, God damn it. Who told you that? That was a narrative, was a stereotype to weaken these minority communities, to make sure that even after colonization, still colonizing will continue. Another thing, the impact or relationship between Latino and Black community. These tactics of separating, segregating contributed to the tensions and misunderstandings between Black and Latino community. In the US, some Latinos might have been told or influenced by some elite groups to distance themselves from Black people. These have involved viewing Black people as different or other and reinforcing negative stereotypes about them. To weaken the minority, to weaken American Black, Latinos Americans, Asian Americans, to weaken them, they have to divide them. And they will only divide them by telling them that these Black guys, they're not good. They're dangerous. They're criminals. How they have been treating Black people, the police brutality and everything, it have been sending a message towards some sort of community, towards children of this community, that Black people are bad people. See how police are getting them every time because they have done this, blah, blah, blah. They are drug smugglers. But in the face of the oppressor, we are the same. In the face of the oppressor, he is using us. He's using us for his own gains. So there's a video I've showed you that this Latino saying that being racist toward Black people will not take you close to your oppressor. You're just making a fool of yourself. But that's not what you want. That's why you see people are coming out and asking, let us come together. Let us unite. Let us show love between our communities. That's the only thing we want to do. Minorities, when we want to take over, when we want to have freedom, when we want to improve our qualities of our countries, we must unite. Latino Americans, see what's happening. FAFO all over against you, all over you, because you voted with the feelings of, we are voting this to punish some people. Now it is eating up you, all of you. Now you are coming out and saying Black people are right. Yeah, Black people are right. They have been fighting this all along. They have been telling you. You have seen them on the streets. Now this is here simply because they weakened you by the narrative of your skin is better than the skin of Black people. Tell me what you think in the comment section about these videos. Until next episode, peace be with you.